This is The Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Good morning, I'm Justin Warmoth. As we approach the peak of hurricane season, Florida is still dealing with a property insurance crisis. Just in the last 2 years, 14 companies have stopped writing policies in the state, and more than 400,000 Floridians have had their policies dropped. Meanwhile, premiums have more than doubled. A few months ago, lawmakers addressed the crisis during a special legislative session, but homeowners likely won't see much of a difference in the short term. This week, I sat down with Tom Cotton, the owner of Hugh Cotton Insurance in Orlando, about the struggling marketplace and where we go from here. When we spoke 5 months ago, you said that Florida, the insurance market, property insurance market, was at a tipping point. Where are we now?
Well, we have not passed the tipping point. But what has happened since we last spoke is there was a special session brought about by the entity that rates carriers' financial strength in Florida, Demotech. Demotech announced that there was going to be some downgrades to some carriers. So what the governor did is he called a special session, and what they created was a RAP program which would prevent the catastrophe if Demotech downgraded the carriers. The real estate market would shut down, the mortgage lending market would shut down, we would be in a real crisis. So what they created was a backstop to that. That is what has changed.
That backstop, let's go through that. Let's go through what was ultimately passed during that special legislative session.
Well, the challenge is we have so many carriers. I mean, and the viewers at home, they've been experiencing it certainly themselves or someone they know or their neighbors. They're having policies non-renewed, even though they may have not had any claims, had a long relationship with the carrier and they're canceling their policies. And the reason they're doing that is the government regulates insurance companies to premium to surplus ratios. And if their premium is growing, their surplus has to grow. Well, their surplus has been depleted due to these crazy litigation and excessive lawsuits, so they have to bring their premiums down, otherwise they become financially imperiled. So that's what's going on in the marketplace. That's why carriers are writing. I mean, what business model says write less business?
Right.
They have to. So even in spite of that, some of the carriers were precipitously close to having their premium to surplus ratios out of balance. So that's why Demotech was saying, hey, something has to be done. So the special session passed a backstop where you have the Florida Insurance Guarantee Fund will provide the initial reinsurance or additional reinsurance that the carriers might not have been able to purchase or might not have been able to afford when their reinsurance treaty is renewed. And then they will have access to Citizens Capital. Now, it's a temporary fix to prevent the crisis of a downgrade. That still does not speak to the fact that carriers have premium surplus ratios, and heaven forbid we have a major storm hit this state, because that's a whole nother ballgame.
It sure is, and we're going to get to that. But let's focus on Citizens, because I know that if someone either had their policy dropped or got too out of control for their budget, they can't afford it, they resorted, and so many did, to Citizens. Why is that problematic, A, and why is it problematic for the state and really for the entire market itself?
Yeah, it is problematic. And it goes back to something you just said. It says if their cost was out of control, they go to Citizens. Yeah. Citizens was not designed to be a competitive market. It was designed to be a market of last resort. But because it is a political animal, it is less expensive in some cases than the private market. So there's a bunch of rules that apply to that. But Citizens has some challenges in that they've always had a cap of $700,000 of homeowner value. That created a problem in South Florida. Now they have some exceptions in South Florida. They'll do $1 million. But if someone has no other choice but Citizens and they have a home that's worth over $700,000, Citizens will not accept it. So that's $700,000 outside of the Tri-County area. So that leaves them in the surplus lines market. So when you read something in the paper or you hear people talking, Citizens was not intended to be a solution or a destination. It's intended to be a market of last resort that is not competitive with the private market, but since it's a political animal, it's kind of is.
I want to talk about federally backed mortgages, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. They make up like 62%, more than half of all Floridians are backed by Fannie and Freddie. And those federally backed mortgages, they are required to have highly rated companies protecting them. So let's talk about that and because something could happen for a number of those companies if they are from an A to an S rating, Demotech, which provides those ratings. What does that look like? What is the end game here?
Okay, you asked a good question, and I hope I can answer the question that you asked, but I'm going to answer the question that I heard.
Yeah.
Okay, Fannie and Freddie require carriers of a certain rating, and when they use it, when they express their requirements, it's usually in terms of what is known as best rating. Okay, Best, AM Best, is an entity that rates insurance companies. It is the preeminent one. It's the one that gets all the recognition, even though it has been proven that we've had A-plus carriers with a rating that just comes out by Best, they're in bankruptcy 6 months later. So it's not completely accurate, but it's the best there is, and it's a standard that Fannie and Freddie go by. So what made Demotech unique is that Demotech got their rating methodology approved by Fannie and Freddie, because following Hurricane Andrew, when there was a huge vacuum and a need for carriers, a lot of carriers were formed at that time, post 1992, and because they were not rated by Best, they had to have a way to rating so they could be used by homeowners and lenders. So that's what Demotech did. Demotech had a rating that was approved by them. The solution that the governor and the legislature came up with, that solution had to, with the RAP program we're talking about, where it extended access to FIGA and Citizens Reinsurance to carriers that may be financially in peril. That solution had to be approved under federal guidelines, and it was. I mean, it was a brilliant move by the Governor DeSantis, and the House and the legislature to use the tools that were available to them to support our market. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it's just important, I think, that folks realize how many homeowners rely on an A-rated. They have to.
That's right.
Bottom line is they have to be insured. So my question is, what happens when it's solely on mortgage companies to find the insurance? Why is that an issue?
Okay, well, when you don't pay your insurance premiums, or you don't have an acceptable carrier, it goes into what they call a forced placement. And most of these lenders have some sort of arrangement, usually it's going to be in Lloyd's of London, where they force place it. And a forced place policy is exceptionally expensive, and it's not a real homeowner's policy. It's really intended to protect the lending institution, not the person who owns the house.
It's a Band-Aid?
Yeah, it's the last place you want to be is a forced place policy.
All right, so yeah, you mentioned it, and I think it's on the minds of so many as we approach hurricane season, the peak of hurricane season, which is next week sometime. That is the elephant in the room, and it's something we can't control, and it could really do absolute damage. And I don't know how I would explain it. Maybe you could do it. What adjective would you use? Say, it doesn't have to be a Category 5, just a significant storm that impacts a large majority of the state. What does that look like in the fallout from that?
Well, it seems that as Americans, we have very short memories.
Yeah.
I certainly remember Hurricane Andrew and the devastation that it created, Katrina, Wilma, Irma. But if it didn't happen recently, they just don't think about it. The impact it will have will depend upon the severity of the storm and the duration of the storm. Sometimes it's the duration that causes the issues much more than the severity of the storm. So the path it takes, the carriers that are affected, a significant storm, a Wilma, Andrew, something like that, it could put several carriers in peril. But what the carriers have been working to do over the years is dissipate their risk. They try to balance their risk between coastal and non-coastal. They try to limit the values. They do the best they can, and it's the modeling that they use. They do the best they can to mitigate their risk, but we can't control the weather.
And coming up, Cotton will break down how the state got to this point and the impact it's having on the housing market. Stay with us.
This is The Weekly on ClickOrlando.com with Justin Warmoth.
Welcome back. Our topic this morning, Florida's property insurance crisis. There are a number of factors at play, but the main driver has been mounting litigation, mostly from roof repairs. Carriers operating in Florida shelled out more than $1 billion in underwriting losses last year, and that's in addition to paying out claims. In turn, it's caused policies to be dropped and premiums to spike. For a closer look, I brought in local insurance agent Tom Cotton.
It's a matter of trying to control bad actors who are seeking to take advantage of the system, and we have to train people that a homeowner's policy is not a warranty. You know, your washing machine is going to wear out. Your roof has a limited lifespan. Now, if you have a relatively new roof on your house and we have a storm, it may hold up very well. But you have a roof that's already past its useful life, it's 20, 25 years old, it's going to sustain some damage because it's old. And people get a brand new roof for an old one. Now, I want to say that they're talking about implementing, and a lot of carriers are doing it now, implementing a roof deductible or making your roof actual cash value.
Right.
But the way the law currently reads, and I don't want you to think that the legislature is rolling over and giving insurance companies everything and taking things away from policyholders, the way it currently reads is, if your roof is destroyed by a hurricane, regardless of how old it is, you're still entitled to a new roof. The problem is these people cruising the neighborhoods going, let me inspect your roof. Oh, you've got some storm damage. They go to the weather data center in South Carolina and they plug in the address and they roll it back till a supercell goes over. They use that at the date of loss and you get a brand new roof.
Sure.
So again, homeowners are responsible for this as well.
Yeah, and I know that some homeowners, let's just say they had their policy dropped because their roof was a certain age, and they just don't have the reserves, they don't have the liquidity to make the necessary repairs to the roof to get insured. What would you tell that person? Because I know they're out there watching.
Wow.
I know it's a tough situation. It's like,
yeah,
money doesn't
you
grow on
know,
trees.
you own a house.
Yeah.
You have to maintain your house. And people say, well, I can't afford a roof. That's an unfortunate circumstance. But if they own the house, they have equity in their home. They take a home equity loan. They have credit cards. I mean, I'm not suggesting that people go into debt, but I mean, you have a car, the tires wear out. You have to buy new tires. Tires are expensive. When you have a house, a roof is a consumable. And they say they put a 30-year roof on. Well, that's the warranty they put on there. But it's proven that in the Florida climate, a roof's not going to last the full 30 years. Just because they say you have a 30-year warranty. If you can remember who sold you the product, you might get a warranty. They might provide the materials. But who can remember who the roofer was that roofed their house? Or was the house roofed before you bought it?
Probably.
You know, is the roofer or the supplier even still in business? So roof warranties really don't mean much.
What is this doing to the market itself, the housing market, and the ability for folks to close and get a mortgage? What is this doing to that? I imagine that it's having an effect because it's becoming harder to get a premium.
Oh, certainly it is. It's certainly slowing it down.
Yeah.
There's two things that we see in our personal lines unit, is people trying to buy houses or people selling houses that they find that they either have a stab lock panel and they have to replace the electrical panel, or the roof, they can't get homeowners insurance. So what happens is the seller has to come out of pocket and fix it prior to putting it on the market, and a good realtor will get them to do that. Or the buyer says, well, you know, you're not going to stick me with the cost of a new roof and electrical panel. They renegotiate it. It comes out of the cost. So we haven't seen the velocity of transactions slowed. It's simply a matter, now it's a negotiation between the buyers, the realtor, and the lender, is who's going to do it.
Yeah.
It has to get done.
All right, so in the last 2 years, I mean, these stats are crazy, and I know we've sort of touched on this, but 400,000 Floridians have had their policies dropped in the last 2 years. 14 companies have stopped writing new policies. 5 companies have gone belly up. In 2019, it was $2,000 on average for a premium in the state of Florida. It's more than double now, $4,200. What is the end game?
Well, it's caused by the drain and surplus caused by ridiculous litigation. As I mentioned before, I won't repeat it, the amount of money that has been paid. But there's examples where the homeowner received $17,000, and because of the way the attorney's bills worked, the attorney got $800,000 for settling the claim. Okay,
so that's the reason. I mean, listen, I know that there are attorneys all over the country who focus on this, property insurance. And does it seem to you that they all probably do business in the state of Florida because that's the financially correct move because of the policy that's in place?
I can't comment as to whether or not it's a bunch of out-of-state folks. I mean, the reports I see, it's clearly domestic-based lawyers. But again, there's no one single entity that is responsible for this. It's a combination of a broken system, a combination of the politics that are involved. It's just a very complicated issue. But at the end of the day, insurance companies can only support so much premium based upon their surplus and reserves. And if the reserves are depleted because of excessive litigation, they have to lower their premium writings. So it's kind of a complicated issue when they're trying to write less policies. But again, the rates are also regulated.
Yeah.
I mean, insurance companies can't defend themselves very well, but at the end of the day, everything is driven by laws, rules, and regulations that are imposed on them. So the laws are saying you got to get your premium surplus in line, so you got to write less policies. The laws are saying you have to charge more. So it's very complicated for them.
Yeah. Last time we spoke, I asked you what tips you had if someone had a premium come in the mail and it went up or spiked or whatever. You're like, sign it.
Yeah.
Sign it.
Take it.
I mean, take it, because the process to find it is going to be very troubling. So take the policy regardless of how much it went up. This time around, as we do, approach the peak of hurricane season, what tips do you have for a homeowner in the state of Florida?
Well, the media does a great job prior to hurricane season telling people what to do. They don't pay any attention.
Yeah.
Now we're halfway through the season. You should be prepared. I'll never forget Hurricane Irma was coming up the state, and the only thing I didn't have was bar oil for my chainsaw. They were sold out, and I kept waiting to get it. Well, it was the day the storm was supposed to strike. I went to get the bar oil. I was standing in line, and there was a guy there in line, very, very vocal. He lived in a mobile home, and he was buying a citronella candle and a 16-ounce propane bottle. He goes, "It's all I need. This isn't going to be a big deal." That's wishful thinking.
Yes, it is.
Wishful thinking will not get you through a hurricane. You need to be prepared at home. You need to go ahead and have your hurricane supplies in place. And if there's one thing I can emphasize, if you have a generator, run it now. Don't try to crank it up afterward, because if it's been sitting for 3 or 4 years, it's probably going to need fresh fuel or might need service. And always remember, your generator has the same motor that your lawnmower has, and they should both be in the same place, out in the yard.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point, because every single year we see generators being used improperly and unfortunately leading to death. Is there something that a homeowner can do now, though, to prepare to I know that nobody wants to out of pocket buy a new roof, but what can they do to maybe mitigate the risk of having the roof torn off or significant damage if a storm comes through?
Okay, well, in my experience in Orlando, which is the only place I've ever lived through a hurricane, okay, I was born 5 days before Hurricane Donna, and it was 32 years before we had another major storm in the state of Florida. Make sure, keep your trees trimmed back. If there's limbs hanging over your house, particularly if they're laurel oaks, keep your trees trimmed. I know I have a trimmer come by my house every year, and he thins the trees so the air will go through them more efficiently. It's an expense, but it keeps it from landing on my roof. Most of the damage in Central Florida from Charlie, Francis, and Jean were not from wind. It was from trees falling on houses and cars. It was a landscaping disaster. So trim your trees. You should also already know who you're going to call when you have a problem. After a storm, everybody's looking for somebody. You should already know who you're going to call if you got trees down, who you're going to call if you have roof damage, who you're going to call if you have water damage, and be sure you know your policy information. Your policy number and a 800 claim number are on your policy. If not, you can call your agent. You can always just call your agent, but they got to get to the office. They got to get open. The 800 number is directed someplace where there is no challenges for a catastrophe. Get the claim reported yourself, and the contract requires you to mitigate your claim. So I would have, a spare tarp on hand, wet dry vac. If you have power, if you have a generator, there's no excuse for a Floridian not to be prepared for a hurricane. You can wish that they don't come, but you need to be prepared for when they do.
And my thanks to Tom Cotton for his insight this morning. For more information on Florida's insurance crisis and the supplies you need for your hurricane kit, just head to clickorlando.com/weekly. I'm Justin Warmoth. Hope you have a great Sunday and a safe Labor Day weekend.